Before I finish the rest of the Cadoa renovation videos, I kind of need to address a bit of an elephant in the room. And I'm not gonna lie, it's a subject that I kind of just hoped would go away over time, but it never did. In fact, over the last couple of years, some of you actually got pretty cross and quite angry at us. And I mean, I say us, I mean me. It was something that I was doing, and the time's come for me to finally say, okay, I hear you, and I hope this video we're gonna get to a resolution that makes, I like to think, everybody happy. Probably not, but I hope we get most people happy by the end of this. So that's the goal. All right, let's get this issue addressed. Let me start off by putting a little bit more meat on the bones. Let's flesh out a little bit more context, especially for anyone who might be new here. Perhaps you only arrived having seen some boat work being done and you're oblivious to all of the issues that actually have taken place, and this doesn't make any sense. So obviously I've been working on Cadoa all winter as much as I can, in between my wife being rushed to hospital and my child being born very prematurely and life being flipped on its head. And yeah, the dust is thankfully starting to settle. Now, having come back to Cadoa, this deck work that I've been doing feels almost never ending. Like, it's a long, arduous, tiring job, backbreaking work. And I say sometimes it's hard to really see the progress you're making. And then last week, this is a side note to the issue, by the way, I'm digressing, but last week, which will be next week for you guys video wise, we had this entire roof taken back as one of the boats in the Willet built shed had finished its revamp and gone out into the wild, ready for huge world adventures. And at the same time, we managed to get a little cursory look at the work that's gone on Cadoa's deck so far. And I think you'll find that from this vantage point, she's starting to look a little bit dapper, if I do say so myself. But I am digressing away from the point. So this story, for those of you that need the very quick catch-up, is one of a couple who had a very, I like to think, early midlife crisis. We bought a boat up in the beautiful remote northeast of Scotland, and this is it, our first ever boat. And we brought her back down to the south coast, having gone from the east coast to the west coast of Scotland. We went right through the Highlands, witnessing some of the most beautiful sailing area there is, or just area to visit, period, anywhere in the UK. We went from Scotland over to Ireland, and then we sailed, let's say, down to the south coast, and then all along that journey back to Southampton. And Cadoa very quickly became our home, and we didn't have a clue what we were doing or what we were getting ourselves into, really. And then as each year went by, we came back learning lessons, understanding what our shortcomings were, and then what we wanted out of Cadoa as a home, as a place to live. And that then ensued a huge amount of upgrades, renovations, and modifications. So we added a whole host of things over the years, namely solar, more solar, deployable solar, some snazzy looking unique solar that everyone wondered what it was and who made it and where did we get that solar, and more solar. And then to go along with all the power we were producing, we had lithium batteries installed, we got rid of all the gas, changed our cooking to electric, we had a water maker, and a whole bunch of upgrades. We had a nice big heavy dinghy put on board, then we needed an electric winch to lift the dinghy up to get it over the edge, and it's just been a constant evolving process. Now, the original plan was just to set sail and just head over the horizon, over that big blue, just originally down towards the Mediterranean, and just start our life bobbing around from country to country, enjoying and exploring, the rich offerings that the Mediterranean has. However, a whole bunch of things happened to us and life in general, to society and us at an individual level, that just kind of like was a hurdle after a hurdle after a hurdle. Firstly, I managed to cunningly snap my leg shortly after bringing Cadoa back at work. I mean, I literally twisted my foot all the way around in a spiral fracture, and it was pretty brutal. And that ruled me out of sailing for quite a while. We lost half of that season. And then so by the time we got back aboard, we were just sort of puddling around the Solent trying to figure out, well, how to sail a boat. So that kind of worked out okay. But then after that, the following year, when we were all set to go again, that's when society got flipped on its head, and we had Firstly, we had over in the UK a big political deal that was going on and certainly affected us, which was Brexit. And when that came in, that made moving around the EU far more difficult than it was going to be, especially if you had a dog. And then secondly, the big one that hit everyone around the world was obviously COVID-19. After the first COVID lockdown, we'd already missed half the sailing season. We thought, you know what, let's just figure this out here in the UK. Let's head out of the Solent, let's turn right, and let's just see what happens. I know that's going to trigger a lot of you. We left the Solent and set a course due west. But yeah, we turned right, and then we just started pulling into all these anchorages along the way, dropping the anchor without really having ever done it before, and we just found ourselves in all these remarkable places. And what was really amazing was nearly half of the anchorages that we ended up stopping in, we were the only ones there, and that did actually kind of send alarm bells off in your head. You know, when you're really new to something and you kind of go off a bit half-cocked, you pull up to these amazing places that are stunning and you're like, we're the only ones here, wow, how remarkable is that? And then you start questioning yourself, like, we're the only ones here, is there something wrong with this place? No, there wasn't in most cases, but we were the only ones here. And we were so inspired by this that we just wanted to share it with as many people as we could. And that's what led us to build the website Cadoa.com, where we put this big map up and it was interactive, all these places there we've been, and we were trying to capture it both in videos and pictures and put little maps on board. And anyway, we tried to do something useful. Now, this isn't what triggered everyone. This isn't the thing that's upset anybody. This is what's upset people. And now I have to take you back to the COVID situation, just very briefly, and I don't want to dwell on COVID, but during the lockdown period, we were allowed to go out to do essential shopping, and I remember at the time thinking to myself, right, well, let's get as much as we can, long life food, so we don't have to go out any more than necessary. You know, I was all up for doing my bit. And I remember being in the supermarket at the time with a big trolley. You know, we had lots of tins and long life food and flour and whatever you could get your hands on. Not much toilet roll, though. Not much toilet roll, because some of you somewhere bought 50 rolls of it. Anyway, going back to that little chapter in recent history where just about every middle-aged couple who hadn't redecorated their house and changed their bathroom since the 1980s felt incredibly smug about the fact that they had a bidet. At that point, I was in a supermarket with lots of tins, waiting to pay, and there was this lovely girl who worked there, and she said to me, "I'm sorry, sir, you've got too many tins of soup." And I hadn't been paying attention. I didn't read the signs that said you could only have 3 tins of soup. I had about 15 tins of soup, and I was like, So I had to do the walk of shame and restock the shelf, and then headed home with what we were allowed to buy. And when we got home and this sort of dust was settling, and I was really it just played on a loop in my head, like, what if things just got a little bit worse? Like, not crazy Mad Max end of the world worse. What if things just got a little bit worse? And this is where we start to get to the point where some of you really got upset. Because I started asking myself the hard questions. I was like, right, if things got a bit worse, if the proverbial you-know-what hit the fan, I was like, can I feed my family? Can I keep them safe? Can I keep them warm? Yes, I think I can. Yes, I think I can. Yes, I think Cadoa seemed to tick all of those boxes. I was like, and can I put food on the table? If those supply chains just got pinched a little bit more and we didn't have enough food and there was a genuine scarcity, could I, as a man, as a husband, as a father, can I as a man go out into the world and come home and put food reliably on the table? And at first I kind of thought, yeah, I'm sure I could if I had to. I'm sure I could if I had to. But the more I was forcing myself to be honest, because I'm only lying to myself really, I realised I couldn't. I like fishing. I enjoy going out with the rod and having a few casts, and every now and then I'd catch a bass or a trout or whatever and I'd bring it home and we'd enjoy it. But it was hit and miss for the most part. And that's what sent me on a journey. This is something I wanted to get a handle of. I just couldn't sleep well at night. It bugged me, it plagued my brain. I became obsessed with it. And so I opened my laptop and I start searching for people in the local areas that we were visiting and living, from Southampton to Cornwall, the Isles of Scilly, all this part of the world. Like, what can you hunt? What can you gather? What can you forage? How can I do it? Who does it? Who does it well? And I stumbled across a whole bunch of channels. There was a guy called Joe Pike, John Locker, got an amazing fishing channel called The Fish Locker. Met him, great guy. A guy called Daniel Mann, got a spearfishing channel. And I just became obsessed. I was like, I need to know what these guys know. or at least 10% of it, because I feel like if I only know 10% of what they know, I'll be able to put food on the table. And that is when a decent amount of you started getting the hump. Because it was at this point I discovered and fell in love with spearfishing. And everywhere we went, every anchorage we got to, everywhere we dropped the hook, I would then dive into the water and I'd explore this underwater world, and I'd be exploring it in search of food. And I wanted to take you guys with me because it felt like it was part of the adventure, it was part of the story. And what I realized fairly quickly is that a decent amount of you started commenting on the videos. I'm like, we didn't sign up for this. I love the sailing. I love the British countryside. I don't like you shooting fish. I don't want to see that. Stop grabbing those lobsters. A lot of you got angry. And at first I just thought, it's my channel, this is our life, this is part of the story now. It doesn't seem unreasonable to catch fish whilst you're living on a boat. And I was like, deal with it. And that was my attitude for probably a couple of years. And I just thought, I'll ignore it and it'll go away. And it never went away. And every time I'd go out and do it, a decent amount of you would let me know that this isn't what you signed up for. And I didn't give it the thought, care and consideration that maybe I should have until my son was put in my arms for the first time, this tiny little helpless vulnerable creature. And it was almost like in an instant I just didn't really want to fight with anyone anymore. And I've always been a bit disagreeable, you know, when people were telling me you shouldn't be eating lobsters or you shouldn't be doing this, or I would get confrontational, defensive, downright aggressive sometimes. And I just think it isn't necessary. And that's where I am. That's what the point I'm trying to make now. And I was just thinking about how can I make this work, because there were also a decent amount of you out there that quite enjoyed it. There was loads of you that were commenting like, oh, we love seeing what it looks like under the water. I never thought the underwater world in Britain was that awesome. Well, I love the catch and cooks, and the food smells great, or I imagine it smells great through the screen. A lot of you were on side, but it was very divisive. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I just thought we live in a hyper divisive world on almost every subject at the moment, and I didn't want to just add to that anymore. Like I say, holding my son just made me feel a little bit differently about fighting with people. I didn't want to fight with anyone anymore. So how do I solve this problem? I thought, do I want to cut it out altogether? And I'm like, oh, no, I really love doing it. I love fishing, I love hunting, I love gathering, I love going in the water, I love filming it, and I love sharing it because I think these places are beautiful and I think they're remarkable. But I get it, it's not for everyone, and you're not all on board with it. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do most of it and I just won't show the catching of the food. And then it just felt like something would be missing. Do I just show us cooking some food on the beach? Because again, we love the cook-ups on the beach as well. And then I got to a point where I just realised that a lot of you hit that subscribe button when it was a couple moving onto a boat, modifying a boat, sailing, exploring, learning, growing. You're all up for that. And I don't want to upset or alienate you, and I don't want to trigger you by just putting a fish all of a sudden on your screen getting shot. If that's if that's something that really irks you, I don't want to do that. So what I've decided to do is I've just taken that part of the edit of the videos of me going out into the sea, hunting, gathering, cooking up on the beach and whatnot, and I've just popped them onto a different channel. So the Kadoa is going to be the boat, us living on the boat, exploring, doing the boat up, and all the modifications that you would expect with life living on a sailboat. And then that little bit that half of you love and half of you hate is going to be on this new channel. I've called it a very British adventure. I'm not going to do a massive amount with that channel. They're just tiny little 10-minute clips. But for those of you that want to come on those little mini adventures with me that do enjoy it, then you can go over there and check them out. And I don't have the time to dedicate to that channel like I do this one, so there's not going to be backing music and color grading and fancy transitions and all that jazz. There's not going to be adverts, monetization. It's just, I love these little adventures. I love making the little videos for my own memory. I like to watch them back and be like, oh look, that's when I saw that fish, or that's when I saw that seal, or that's when I held my breath down to 15 meters, or whatever it is I do. Like I do it for me, and I'd love my son to be able to watch them as he grows up. And I'm an old dad, so by the time he gets to his 20s, I'll be in my 60s, and I probably won't be able to do that anymore. So I like making these memories that he too can look back on and be like, oh, that was alright, it's kind of cool. Or it might not. He might hate it. He might grow up to be a vegan activist. He might be Greta 2.0. And he might see them and come at me with a pitchfork. I don't know. It's a chance I'm willing to take. But the reason I'm saying this is it is my sincerest hope that this will sort of solve that issue. For the half of you that love watching those videos, you can go check them out. And if you want to come on those mini adventures with me, then you can subscribe to that channel, hit the little bell, because I have no idea how frequently I'm going to be able to make them. This channel is basically a full-time job. I'm working at the Willet Built shed several days a week. 2 days a week I'm working on Cadell, trying to get her ready and up to speed. And then I have to go back home. Obviously I've got a family at home that I want to spend time with. I don't want to miss any more than I have to there. And you know, that's a lot. That's almost 97% of my time full. And then every now and then, if there happens to be a sunny weekend and I want to get up before the crack of dawn, before Carly and my son even wake up, then every now and then I can squeeze in a mini adventure, and then I'll go capture it and I'll share it. And they are beautiful little adventures around the most breathtaking parts of the coast that we've been privileged enough to explore. And so if you want to come on those mini adventures with me, again, go over to the channel, hit the subscribe and the bell, and you can check those little missions out. And for those of you that do not want to see that, you have my word, you will not see it on this channel anymore. Do not go to that channel, do not go and hit the subscribe button, do not hit the bell on that channel, because if those kind of videos trigger you, they will definitely trigger you, because there's a lot of hunting, there's a lot of gathering, there's a lot of beach cook-ups, and there's a lot of nature, there's a lot of sunrises and sunsets and camping and all that good stuff. And yeah, so I hope that has addressed the elephant in the room. I hope I've done my best to keep most people happy. I know there's going to be like some hardcore vegan activists which are still raging at their screen right now, and I'm sorry, it's just I don't know what to do. But for those of you that are like, okay, you do you, we'll do us, I hope 98% of you. If I can keep 98% of people happy, then I've done my bit, I hope. Anyway, next week we're going to go much more into phase 2 of the deck work. I've already given you a little sneak peek at how that's going. It's starting to look good, and it's full steam ahead with getting Cadell ready to get her back in the water. So we're marching on, modifications, upgrades, repairs. Thank you for watching. See you next time.